For those who have never heard of Channel Awesome, let me explain what I'm about to talk about. Channel Awesome is a website comprised mostly of reviewer shows. People who review movies, TV shows, books. They even got a theme park reviewer. The original reviewer and the main star of Channel Awesome is this guy, Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic. Other shows on the website include The Cinema Snob, Atop the Fourth Wall, The Angry Joe Show, Mars Girl, and many more. The website was founded in 2008, originally going under the name ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com, once again, relaying back to Doug Walker. For the first few years of the website's duration, content producers on the site would all come together once a year to make a big anniversary special. Starting from the second year to the fifth, the anniversary specials would end up being online movies, and each year they would get bigger and bigger, and they haven't done an anniversary special since the fifth year because they're not sure how much bigger they could get, and the people in charge think it's best to hold off until the 10-year anniversary. And while I eagerly await the latest anniversary special, today I'm going to review the ones they already brought us and hopefully keep it under 10 minutes. The first anniversary movie they made was in 2010, a 90-minute movie called Kickassia. Yes, that's the real title. The plotline is about the Nostalgia Critic gathering all of his reviewers to go out to Nevada and conquer a micronation called Molossia. And just for the record, Molossia is a real place. It's somewhere out in the Nevada desert, and if you don't believe me, look it up on Wikipedia, it's true. Essentially, this is the least complicated plot of the anniversary movie. It's just a non-stop ride of gags and some, although made on a very shoestring budget, some pretty enjoyable action sequences. There was hardly a moment where I wasn't really enjoying this movie, and just to give you an example of the comedy in this film, the Nostalgia Critic calls up all the people on the site when he decides to conquer Molossia, saying, "It's time." Calls up the next person, "It's time." Next person, "It's time." Does that about 10 or 20 times, and then after finishing his calls, he suddenly gets a phone call from one of them who goes, yeah, what does 'it's time' mean?" "What?" "I don't know, you just called me up and said, 'it's time,' like I'm supposed to know what that means." Overall, I think it's a pretty impressive action comedy, considering it was shot in only 4 days. The second movie, once again, has the Nostalgia Critic gather up all of his content creators and has them go on a treasure hunt. And this one takes them all outside, out into the woods, and one of the rules for this treasure hunt is that everybody has to cosplay as a famous character from a fantasy movie. And this leads to a lot of very funny costumes, such as the Cinema Snob as Indiana Jones, Spoonie as Gandalf, Benzai as Conan the Barbarian, the late great Justin Carmichael as the late great David Bowie from Labyrinth, and many more. A great scene from this movie is when Brad Jones as Indiana Jones and Justin Carmichael as Jareth are just arguing about their weapons, and the Cinema Snob says, "I have what every tough heterosexual man uses, a whip." And it's clearly a belt, and Justin Carmichael just goes, "A whip? Yeah, no one's gonna mess with a guy with a whip." And then he says, "That's a belt." And then alluding to what I would assume is real life, he's like, "Yeah, they wouldn't let me carry a weapon on an airplane, so now it's a belt." And then Justin says, "Well, it certainly is terrifying." And then Brad goes, "Hey, I could whip half a dozen school children's ass with this, so shut up!" And as far as action sequences go, there's just too many to count. The one that sticks out amongst all of them is where the reviewers are fighting off against this group of evil sorcerers who are trying to stop them from getting the treasure, and the whole battle scene, I guess you would call it, takes place on a public playground. And you gotta give them credit. They actually made an action sequence on a playground look epic. And then we have the third anniversary movie, To Boldly Flee. After action and fantasy, of course sci-fi had to be next. To Boldly Flee, to put it simply, is basically the plot for Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, but with Channel Awesome reviewers. And along the way, they steal scenes from just about every sci-fi epic ever made, from Star Wars to the other Star Treks to Ghostbusters, and even though it's not a good film, to Battlefield Earth. Now, there are a lot of people that will accuse this movie of ripping off all those sci-fi films, and while they do copy a lot of it, it's done all out of love and to parody and in a way to pay homage. When I watch To Boldly Flee, I watch it thinking of it as the ultimate daydream fantasy, where when someone daydreams and they sometimes will imagine themselves being a part of their favorite movie, that's kind of how I see To Boldly Flee, because this is kind of like what I would like to do. Just be part of my favorite movies, part of the plot, and of all of them, To Boldly Flee is probably the most well-made of the Channel Awesome movies. The acting, the direction, the music score, oh my god, the music for the opening credit sequence, just the opening credit sequence itself for To Boldly Flee, is fucking amazing. And there's some pretty strong performances that you just don't see coming from an internet movie, especially from Noah Antweiler, Luke Mockri, and Alison Pregler. They in particular I see as the strongest actors in this film. And there's a very cool and surreal twist near the end involving breaking the fourth wall that'll just make you go, whoa. If you've never watched The Nostalgia Critic or seen any of the other shows from Channel Awesome, then these movies probably won't work for you. But if you do want to give it a chance, I definitely recommend checking out The Nostalgia Critic first, and who knows, maybe you'll like it. I love these movies, and once again, these are movies that just show that you can accomplish so much with so little and make something that's just a blast. And I don't recommend it on the first viewing, but when you watch Kickassia, Suburban Knights, and To Boldly Flee, play a drinking game where you take a shot every time you see someone who's no longer on Channel Awesome. On second thought, don't play that game. You'll probably be dead before Kickassia even ends.